So before this video starts, I just want to make some things clear. First of all, the things I'm going to talk about are just speculations and guesses based on my findings. None of these things have been confirmed by Rockstar Games officially. Also, I'll be discussing some leaks back from 2022, which do not contain any story spoilers, but if you want to 100% go in blind into the game, I would just recommend you to click off. Alright, so what's the point with this video? Why am I recording this? I won't probably be the only one, but I've been recently pretty much obsessed with GTA 6. I've followed the Reddit every day, looked at new findings and discussions. Also recently just rewatched every single one of these leaked clips that came out back in 2022. Also, another thing I'm really interested in are current AI trends, especially in generative AI and how AI affects certain industries such as gaming. And with that being said, I recently stumbled across a research paper that is about possible AI use cases, especially for NPCs in open world games. This paper is actually quite new. It released on December 24th, 2023. And the topic of this paper is quite interesting. It presents a possible way on how NPCs in open world games could look in the future with the support of AI. So back to me looking through the leaked clips of GTA. While I was browsing through all the clips, there was one clip in particular that stood out because it actually had some connections to that recent research paper. And these connections made me think whether this could be something that we might gonna see in future GTA games. You're probably thinking right now, why would this AI topic be relevant for GTA? Well, the CEO of Take-Two Interactive, Strauss Zelnick, made a statement at the Parlay International Council Summit on November 7th, 2023, when he was asked about the benefits of AI for the video game industry. And in the statement he said that one area where AI could improve games are NPCs. Specifically with technology that could add more variety to dialogue trees and induce players to keep coming back to the game. And he said, quote, "Interaction is currently scripted. Non-playable characters are generally not very interesting. You could imagine all the NPCs becoming really interesting and fun." So what this statement is telling us is that Rockstar Games is actually quite open towards the use of AI in future game development and are hoping that this technology would make their games feel more alive due to the fact that NPCs would be more interesting to interact with. And this is where the research paper I mentioned earlier comes into play. Because the authors of this paper developed a framework that makes NPCs exactly what Strauss mentioned: non-scripted, interesting, and fun to interact with. They developed something called LARP. LARP stands short for Language Agent Roleplay Model and is a framework, in this case, specifically tailored to NPCs in open world games. Alright, so what does this framework actually do? Well, as a short explanation, it gives the NPC a persona and a memory through which he can then interact with the open world by itself. Sounds cool, right? But how does it actually look like? In the following, I will try to explain the whole framework as simple as I can by leaving out some details, but keeping the most important in, so you can just follow along. The authors also made a video demonstrating their framework, which I will show you in the background to give a more visual demonstration of what it can do. Oh yeah, and also before I forget, every source which my explanation is based on can be found in the links in the description or will be shown in the video somewhere on the screen. Alright, so at the very start of this, let's call it process, the NPC is given some attributes like a name, age, gender, a group or ethnicity it belongs to, and also some personality traits. Additionally, the NPC is given some sort of memory. The memory is divided into two parts, a long-term memory and a working memory. These attributes are stored in the long-term memory, and they are the key to future decision-making of the NPC. Also, the NPC will be given the ability to observe its environment. With that, it can now wander through the game world and perceive what is going on. With what is going on, I mean wait for a certain trigger. In the video you are currently seeing, this trigger is a group of mean-looking gang members. you can see the NPC is walking up to them, and as soon as it notices the gang members, a action is triggered. And this is where the self-ask function of this framework starts to kick in. This function allows the NPC to ask itself questions on how to deal with this situation. Questions, for example, could be: what skills do I have to react to this? Do I have experiences with similar situations, and how did I deal with them? Or how does my personality and motivations influence my decision? This self-ask function is a key factor for later decision making and is very important for why these NPCs will feel so alive. These self-asked questions will be answered based on the data that is stored in the long-term memory. This memory will be searched based on what do I know and how does my attributes like personality and age that is stored in the long-term memory affect my decision. Based on this data, the decision-making system will decide how the NPC reacts. And as you can see in the video, we have 3 different NPCs with a different background. One is experienced with the situation, thus will react with a more aggressive kind of style in beating down these gang members. 2 are not experienced. 1 is running away because it has bad experiences with the situation. And 1, while not experienced with the situation, does know how to talk itself out of such. So you can see it just talks to these gang members and walks right past them. After everything is done, the data on how the NPC dealt with the situation will be stored in the long-term memory for future decision making. And this is pretty much the whole framework explained as simple as I can. Of course, there are limitations to this. For example, I don't think personally that it is technically possible to implement this kind of framework for every single NPC in a game like GTA. This would mean that literally every NPC you see on the streets will have its own memory, own personality, and I don't think that it is even beneficial for us players, because I don't see the necessity for every NPC to have some sort of memory knowledge about what happened, what we did, and so on. But where I think this would be beneficial are important NPCs, like store clerks, bus drivers, taxi drivers. Well, every NPC that we might encounter more often. Even strippers would be funny to see if they remember how we treated them. I hope I was able to explain this framework simple enough for you to understand how cool this would be if that would be actually in a game like GTA. Alright, so now that I have explained everything, I still owe you the explanation on why do I think this is relevant for GTA. And this relevance actually lies within one leaked clip. I will show it right here in the video so you can research it yourself. I won't show any leaked materials because I do not want to get into any troubles. Anyways, in this leaked clip you can see the AI debug menu from the Rockstar engine, I would say. And in this debug menu you can see many different debug options. And while looking through these options, I noticed that some of these sound very familiar to words we have just heard in the LARP framework. These words are perception hearing, perception smelling, AI targeting, personalities, mindset, motivation, AI memory, AI on my mind, decision maker, and AI behavior. If we now connect these debug settings to the words we just mentioned in the LARP framework, personality, mindset, and motivation sounds a lot familiar to character attributes like age, gender, personality, etc. Perception hearing, perception smelling, and AI targeting, which I think is like the observation kind of thing, fits to the observation ability of the framework, even enlarged by 2 senses. AI memory, AI on my mind, sounds very familiar to the working memory and the long-term memory of the framework. Decision maker and AI behavior would then be the result of all of this. If we now take all of these debug settings and try to fit these into the LARP framework, or to try to build it, a possible framework could look something like this. And by looking at this, it kind of makes sense. If these debug settings are actually for what I think they are for, we can very closely recreate such framework. But as I said, this is just speculation. This is just based on my interpretation of these debug settings projected on a research paper that just came out like 2 months ago. But, and that is why I decided to still make this video, this gives us some kind of realistic picture of how future NPCs in GTA actually look like, realistically. But of course, I think that Rockstar, if they decide to implement something like this into their game, will probably do their own spin-off of this framework. And I'm quite positive that someday we will actually see something like this in a game. Because, as I mentioned earlier, Rockstar Games first of all is open towards the use of AI in game development and also has some patents in that field. I don't know if you already saw this, but Rockstar Games has an artificial intelligence pattern on furniture design in rooms, for example, which I'm quite positive that we will actually see in use in GTA 6. And of course, Rockstar Games isn't the only company who's testing with this new technology. For example, at CES 2024, NVIDIA showed an improved version of NVIDIA ACE, which is basically them hooking up a large language model to an NPC in the game and giving him some context so the player can actually have full conversations with it. Alright, and that is pretty much it for this video. As you can probably see, I'm really excited of what the future of AI holds for the gaming industry, and now I want to hear your opinion on it. Do you believe the next GTA will already have improved AI NPCs with capabilities we just discussed, or do we have to wait for GTA 7? Do you think AI-powered NPCs will impact the game in a positive or negative way? Be sure to write your answers in the comments. I'm excited to see what your take on this topic is, and I'm out. See you later.